Who deserved to kill Grand Fisher and avenge Masaki? Husband or son? That is the question that I will hopefully try to answer by the end of the video. But before we get into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, let's get into it. The day was 17th June, the same day that Masaki's life was lost. And each year on that very day, the Kurosaki family visit her gravesite in order to celebrate her life. So it was no surprise when they decided to continue this family tradition on the 6th year. However, that year, things took an unexpected turn when Ichigo encountered a hollow called Grand Fisher. Grand Fisher wasn't any regular hollow. He had the ability to hide his actual body while his neck extends and takes on the form of a human girl. And because of this, humans who have a high level of spiritual density are lured in by his deceptive form, and he devours them in order to increase his strength. Now, at this point, it doesn't take a genius to realize that Grand Fisher was responsible for Masaki's death. And as you would expect, Ichigo's reaction to this revelation was obviously outrage. And despite all of Rukia's warnings, Ichigo insisted on fighting him alone. If Grand Fisher was going to be defeated, it had to be by his hand and without the interference of anyone else. And this is the first time we see just how important Masaki was to him. He loved his mother so much so to the point where he was willing to risk his life to avenge her. But as you can imagine, because his head was clouded with anger, it affected his ability to think rationally. And due to this, he didn't bother to come up with a strategy. This reckless behavior would prove to be very disadvantageous for Ichigo. And to make matters even worse, by taking a peek into Ichigo's memories, Grand Fisher was able to recognize Ichigo's biggest weakness and creates the perfect copy of Masaki and uses it against Ichigo. This was arguably the most vile thing we have ever seen in Bleach. Ichigo's dead mother was used as a pawn in order to completely destroy his resolve. In spite of that, Grand Fisher's plan backfired. He was hoping that Ichigo would not be able to cut his old mother, and although he wasn't wrong, Ichigo was able to evade Masaki's body and successfully cuts down Grand Fisher. However, that was not enough to defeat him. Long story short, Grand Fisher manages to escape, and because Ichigo was seriously wounded, he couldn't hunt him down. And with everything said and done, Ichigo visits his mother's grave. Not only does he apologize for failing to defeat Grand Fisher, but he also promises to avenge her. That scene right there had me waiting in anticipation. I couldn't wait for Ichigo and Grand Fisher's next encounter. However, let's just say that my dream would come crashing down because Isshin Kurosaki steals the kill from Ichigo. And to make matters worse, he defeats Grand Fisher with little to no effort. There was no tension, and worst of all, there was no emotional payoff. Now, after avenging the love of his life and the mother of his children, you would think that Isshin would be overcome with joy. But this was quite the opposite. He shows no emotion whatsoever, and it is at this point in the story where we see a different side of Isshin Kurosaki's character. His goofy personality is thrown out the window, and Kubo-sensei gives us the opportunity to dive into his psyche. Isshin reveals that he was never hungry for revenge because Grand Fisher's desire to kill Masaki was based on one thing alone: instinct! Hollows don't discriminate. It is in their nature to consume human souls. The only thing he regretted was his inability to save Masaki. Isshin didn't feel any sense of accomplishment after defeating Grand Fisher, and this is because there was a major difference in terms of the motivation for both husband and son. Isshin simply wanted to put Masaki's soul at rest, while on the other hand, Ichigo's desire to kill Grand Fisher was rooted in revenge. And the reason why I find a problem with this revenge topic is because remember Ichigo, Masaki's son, the guy who swore to avenge her. Well, after the substitute Shinigami arc comes to an end, he never brings up this topic again. It's almost as if he forgot all about it. Ishin was the one who triggered the discussion of this topic again in the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and it is then that we learn that Masaki's death was due to a chain reaction. Yes, Grand Fisher killed Masaki, but it was because of Yuha. On the 17th of June, Yuha activated the Ashwalin to regain his strength, and in the process, he stole the powers of the mixed-blooded Quincy's because he considered them unclean. Under normal conditions, Masaki would win without a doubt, but sadly, she had little chance against Grand Fisher without her abilities. Okay, now that Ichigo learns about the actual cause of Masaki's death, surely he would set his sights on Yuha, right? Wrong. Yes, it is true that Ichigo defeated Yuha, however, his decision to do so was not driven by revenge. He simply defeated him because he posed a threat to the very existence of the universe. If you ask me, I think that during some points in the story, and just based off everything Ichigo experienced, he realized that there was no point in seeking revenge. Regardless of if he avenged his mother or not, it wouldn't bring her back to life. And because of this, he decided to let it go. And I guess that's what you call character development. And to be honest, I think that was the right decision to make. See, revenge is a very touchy subject in Bleach. Those who have sought it have underwent nothing but misfortune. To name a few, Tosen sought revenge for his friend and lost his life. Gin sought revenge for Rangiku and lost his life. Komamura also sought revenge for Yamamoto, and although he didn't lose his life, he lost his heart and body. Just based on these events, we can tell that Kubo Sensei is trying to make it very apparent that seeking revenge is never the right path to take, because it always comes with a price. Who knows what Ichigo would have lost in his quest for revenge? Maybe a friend, his powers, or hell, maybe even his life. Now, to answer the question, who deserved to avenge Masaki? The simple answer is that it doesn't really matter, because in a way, both Ichigo and Ishin avenged Masaki. Like I previously said, Masaki's death was a chain reaction. Ishin defeated the Hollow who physically took her life, while Ichigo was the one who defeated Yuha, the perpetrator of Masaki's death. Thank you for making it to the end, and if you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe, and also turn on the notifications because it really helps the channel out.
Bye bye!